Now, the Kenya Health Information did release some damning statistics in 2020 that did indicate about slightly 7,000 women and 500 men experienced one form of gender-based violence or the other, which was what was confirmed by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics just early this year in January, at around 23rd thereabout, where the Kenya Demographic Health Survey also indicated how the rising cases of GBV have been in the country. This is what we said to converse in like the next 15 minutes with my guests, even as we narrow down to toxic relationships and just what codependency is and what would make most stay in these toxic relationships, much as the signs and symptoms are already out there. I am holding court with Dr. Wilfridah Olaly, who is a psychologist and also a lecturer at Kenyatta University. Daktari, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
How are you feeling? Easy, relaxed?
Yes, I'm okay.
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah.
Now, before we go to even what you want to discuss, codependency, toxic relationships, I just want to pick your brains basically from your practice going by this data, looking at what the Kenya Health Information released in 2020, looking at what the Demographic Health Survey report had in January of this year, a clear indication of how these numbers are rising, year in, year out. What do you make of this?
What I make of this is that we are living in a country where there's a lot of stress, and the stress are normally seen in different situations, like children and their family members. You find that the problem is also with friends. She's your friend, but you find that you are not doing well with her.
Yeah.
It is also amongst the siblings. You find that some siblings don't even agree. And whatever is causing this, you wonder what is happening. Maybe because of the issues which are going on in the country. No food, no money, and this causes that.
Cost of living.
Cost of living also. You can find that it is also the parent and the children. Mom, where's food? There's no food. So there's a problem even in the families because of the cost of living. It could also happen with co-workers, just amongst yourselves. You find that there is a problem amongst you, and you wonder, what is causing all this? Cost of living, little money. Sometimes people are not even paid on time, so you just meet a friend at the door and then, oh, what did you eat last night? Then the problem begins. People are quarreling for no good reason, but it is a reason anyway. We also have spouses also quarreling all the time, and this has happened a lot, especially of late, where the food is not enough. The man goes out to hustle, comes back barehanded, and the woman is also expecting to get something. When the husband comes back, it is not there, so the problem begins. It becomes so toxic.
I hear you.
Yeah, so it becomes bad.
Okay, just allow me to butt in, because you've said when you're giving just the explanation as to why these numbers are rising and why if nothing is done, we might continue to see this trend and the trajectory just going by what we've had in 2020, 2021, 2022. But then you're saying that is a reason, but is it a reason enough? When you just look at what we've talked about, cost of living, for instance, I'm talking about not seeing eye to eye on some issues if it's on a family level, not agreeing if it's co-workers. Is it reason enough?
It boils to being reason enough because some people cannot contain themselves. But there are some people who are strong enough, and even if those issues come, they are able to hold their temper and even the way they talk, because it's in a toxic relationship. You find that there's a lot of bad talk. You are misunderstood. Whatever you say is misunderstood. So it depends also on how you are brought up. Are you strong enough to take the issues, or are you too weak that you say, no, me, I can't take this? So apart from the fact that there are issues with the economy, there's no money, there's no as such no food, it also depends on one's temperament. Some people are able to hold it, but some people are not. So that brings the issue. Why do we hear all the time people killing each other, full family gone? It's because they can't hold it.
And currently even there's a story that is being followed up. The specific area eludes my mind, but there's a lady who just killed, is it a 3-year-old child, her own child.
Yes.
And you can imagine this is your own child that you carried 9 months, you've given birth, they're 3 years, so you've taken care of them for a whole 3 years, then just one day you wake up and you realize you want them no more.
It's sad. It is because of the way we are brought up. How are we brought up? Were we trained to know that things will happen and not our way? But not most of us take it. So they don't know how to handle it, and since they don't know how to handle it, that's what happens. You find somebody killing the whole family, wife, children, and even himself. So the whole group of that family is gone. So it is the way we strengthen ourselves, strengthen our will. We need to be strong enough to strengthen our will. But sometimes it goes beyond us, so we need help.
That's why you're here.
Yes.
We'll come to upbringing and also temperaments, especially when you look at the 4 kinds of temperaments, the cholerics, sanguines, phlegmatics, melancholics, and the likes. But before we get to all that, Dr. let's just talk about, the toxic relationships. What characterizes this? How would you explain what a toxic relationship is? And actually when you do that, you're also taking cognizance of the fact that this cuts across, whether it's on a partner-to-partner basis, child, mother, co-worker, boss, colleagues, and the likes.
When it is toxic, what happens is that you feel that you are really unsupported. Let's say you are staying with your husband in the house, but you are not supported at all. He comes back from work, he tried to talk to him, he's not listening. Or if he's listening, but walking to the bedroom. He's not even listening keenly. Listening is one thing and listening keenly is another. So he's not even listening.
What is the difference, just before you continue, so that we get context of what you're talking about?
You see, listening, you are just talking and I hear and I say, okay.
So that's listening.
But keenly, I also ask you, what did you mean? Did you mean to tell us that Joyce did go to school today, and what was the reason? You see, now you are keen and you are asking questions about what you asked me about.
So listening is not just, as you speak to me, I am looking at you necessarily, but also if I can be able to make gestures, for instance, if I can be able to ask tidbit questions, maybe clarifications of what exactly you mean by what you said.
Exactly.
So that classifies as listening keenly.
Yes.
We need to know the difference now.
Yes.
So keep on.
Because people do listen, yes. A husband and wife can talk. A child and a sibling can talk. But are they keenly? Keenly listening? You are talking and the person is busy on the phone. Is he keenly listening?
And they're saying, I'm listening.
Yes, but they are not. Because if you are keenly listening, you should be able to speak back something. At least say something to the person talking to you. Oh, did you mean this? Is this what you meant? That is keenly. But if it is, okay, yes, all right, later. That's not keen listening. And that happens a lot in families. It happens a lot even in workplaces. Happens a lot amongst the siblings. Happens quite a lot between the parents and their children. So even in that neighborhood, you find that you are staying with people, but you are not keen on what others are going through. So you hear that somebody has died and you don't know what happened. And you met him maybe yesterday. Did you talk to him? And did you listen keenly to what he was telling you? Maybe that person was hurting and needed somebody to talk to them. So in toxic relationship, you have nobody even to listen to what you are saying. All the time you are attacked. When you try to say anything, you are attacked. Or you don't know anything, you can't amount to anything, and that really makes you feel hurt. And that's what goes on in our society.
Verbal abuse?
Yes, there's a lot of verbal abuse, even emotional abuse. Imagine you are talking to a colleague and the colleague ignores you. You stay in the same office. Like we lecturers, we sometimes share offices. You are trying to talk to somebody and they don't even bother about what you are saying. Oh, what did you say, Dr. Olaly? Okay. Not giving you time. So you find that even in workplaces, people are really stressed, but they don't have anybody to talk to. You might not believe it, but I'm a counselor, counseling psychologist. But once in a while, I go to another counseling psychologist just to listen to my story, for me to be sane. Yeah.
Swahili says mganga hajigangi.
Yes.
Daktari hajitibu.
Yes. So we still do that. We go for help for us to be strong enough, because we are all human beings and we need that help.
I hear you. So then, aside from the fact that someone not being able to listen to you, perhaps giving you that listening ear, it being classified as a toxic relationship.
Yes.
And you've said that this does cut across, so then people don't think it's just about people that are married or partners. It does cut across. What else classifies? You know, why I ask it is because sometimes one may not even be knowing that their working environment is toxic, that their siblings are toxic, or a cousin or a friend is toxic.
Yes.
So what else? What else are we looking at that classifies as such?
Another thing could be being misunderstood. If you are misunderstood, you say something and somebody else hears it in a different way. You might have meant something in a different way, and the person hears, according to his perception, is completely different. So this also brings a toxic relationship, because later on, when you are now going to talk about the same topic, you realize this person had something else. So that also makes people feel that they have a toxic relationship and might even avoid the colleague. Yeah, so, and sometimes some people are attacked verbally. This could be in the line of children. You are just attacked verbally. You are loved by your mom and me, I'm not. And that brings a quarrel. That is toxic to the person. The person knows that they are all loved. So you feel that you are not supported by your parents, but the other one is supported. So all this being a lot of toxic relationship in families, in workplaces, among siblings. So those are some of the things.
So basically what you're saying is that things that sometimes you may not even see as reason enough or as characteristics enough actually could lead to what we call the toxicity.
Yes.
Now this orients my next question. So then you realize, or you are actually aware that this are some of those factors, either not being listened to, could be verbal abuse, could be physical abuse, could be emotional, you know, all these things that you're talking about. But then you realize we still have those that are aware of this, but they will still stay in this toxic relationships or toxic working environment.
Yes.
We'll come to siblings in a short while, because I mean that's a different story. So then, from your practice, what is this that makes people stay? And again, the reason why I ask this is because how many times have we covered stories of, just the way you even began by saying, a husband or a partner, or it could be a wife killing the husband and children, or a husband killing the wife and children, or vice versa. And these things, you saw them oftentimes momentarily, but you just said atabadilika, or things will change.
Okay, let me take it in the African context.
Yes.
African women, maybe the ones who are now young like you, can make a very fast decision. But the African woman believes that he must have a place where he will stay until death do them part. Even
regardless of the circumstances.
Regardless of the circumstances. So they go through a lot of torture. Very, very toxic relationship, but they stick. They say, where will I be buried? Whom shall I leave my children to? This question of children is killing the African woman. I can't leave my children. They'll suffer. And true to their word, once you leave your children, another woman comes in, she will mistreat them. Very few women can take care of other children who are not theirs. So when you come to family, our African women really do really hide under that umbrella that I'm looking after my children, where shall I go to? And my kid is a married person, sexual relationship is gone. So you find the man going out,
but they will still stay
with another mistress, but women tend to stay at home. But nowadays I think the women also just go out and look for another relationship. Which is strange but sad, not strange but sad, that a relationship should be treated like that. So for our African women, Where shall I be buried? Who will take care of my children? And then another thing is the name.
Yeah.
I can say without fear of contradiction that most women who have divorced because of the circumstances always regret. Whatever is out there for them, I don't know.
What do you mean they always regret?
They regret having left their family. They feel they have no name. They are not recognized in the society.
Wait, I feel like now you're losing me. Just help me understand. Because now we are saying, and you know, marriage is sacred, as is, and also as the Bible, you know, does term it. But here's a situation, just as we're trying to describe it. It could be toxic in all the nature that toxicity could be defined. Some are even both verbal, physical, emotional. Just name all the kind of abuses that are there. But you're trying to juxtapose this with the fact that this is also your life you're looking at. So then you're saying that this, that from your definition, that most women that are divorced, they are regretting it. But this woman would say they were just trying to protect their lives and their children, basically from what they had gone through in the entirety of this union. So how are they regretting again? That's
the irony of it all.
What exactly are they regretting about? That they left?
They are looking at the societal way of looking at marriage. And when they are out there, they are told, after all, you are a divorcee. What can you tell me? So what they always tend to say when they come for family therapy is that they feel the society is not accepting them. As much as they left it because it was toxic, when they go out there, the society also doesn't respect them. Even if they get another man to befriend them, the man uses them like just an object.
It looks at them from that
that angle. So it is not really nice out there to be divorced.
So now which one is which?
But as I said, maybe the present generation, the younger generation, will accept it, and maybe the other society members will also accept them. But so far, it hasn't been easy for them. Those who have been there, and I have never met any who said, thank God I left that marriage. Very few, if any.
From your practice, you've not met anyone who said that it was difficult, it was tough, but thank God they exited. So then, now, just going from what you're saying, looking at these numbers, then it simply means that it will continue to increase, because now, when you look at culture, now that you talk from the African cultural perspective, where will my children go? Where will I be buried? I will lose my name. That's from the African context. Now come to our time, even 21st century. What is the society saying? What are your neighbors saying? So it looks like there's a huge cloud that is hanging around this issue of toxicity, even before you come to codependency. So then it simply means that these numbers might not be going down.
The numbers might not go down because the situation in the present world is completely different. And as I told you earlier, it is coming to a time where divorcees will be accepted. They'll always enjoy their time, and their children apparently will have to understand why their mom has done that or dad has done that. When I'm talking about two different decades. Decades of those who never wanted to divorce at all. And the present decade, they are accepting it because they can't take it. They say, I can't take it. We all work. I go to work, he goes to work, and then now I'm being treated as if I'm a nothing. So it's going to change. And I've seen that from the practice, that it is going to change. People are not going to stick to marriages if it is toxic.
If it is toxic. So that also simply means the society needs to even sort of like adjust as we go. So then now let's come to the family bit, because it's so much to talk about the partner, which as you have said, you could exit at will if you want to, if it's not working. But this sibling, this brother, this sister, this is not something you can exit from. This is where you are born, this is your family, but yet they still exhibit this toxic traits that you did mention earlier. So then how do you go about in such a family setup? Because again, you realize that over time, this toxicity has a ripple effect on an individual, whether it's to their self-esteem, how they will behave, how they will interact with people. Over time, it has a long-lasting effect.
Yes.
So then how do you deal with this one?
In fact, children is are the ones who suffer most in this toxic relationship.
How so?
Because they love mom, they love dad. So if they see this tug of war going on in the family, whom will they stand by? Many families, you find nowadays that children are, they are divided. Some are for mom, some are for mom.
For dad.
For dad.
Yeah.
If these people separate, the children are the ones who suffer. Because here they want to be with mom, then they want to be with dad. And there's that big tug of war. Okay, the law might say that the mom, if they are of a certain age, takes care of the children. And if they reach a certain age, maybe they can now and stay with their dad.
But now the law has also given dads that priority.
Yeah. So you find that the children are the sufferers. Children pain when they go through such type of relationship. They really suffer.
So then, how about the siblings? How do you deal with this? Because just as I was asking earlier, that this is not a place you can exit. For instance, if you come from these families that you have family gatherings at some point in time, either media, end-year, quarterly, somehow, you really can't leave this sister. They are your sister. This is your brother.
Yeah.
And just as I said, they do exhibit, for instance, some of these toxic traits, as you mentioned. And this would have a ripple effect to you as an individual in the long term. How do you cope and deal with this?
You are specifically talking about the siblings, right?
Yes, yes.
Siblings have a lot of issues, but it depends on the age. If they are an age where they can be talked to, like, let's say adolescent age. These are now people who are mature enough.
Yeah.
Those in the university, I've talked to so many. They pain a lot. So what I do, I normally call them aside and talk to them, explain to them the implication, and also explain to them that they have to maintain their esteem regardless of what they are going through. But if they are small children, you know, you can't do that a lot. What you can do is only to give them some play therapy, and then they hopefully forget about what they are going through. But children do feel bad, and as counselors, we do give them some counseling which is peer-oriented. We have a lot of them together. We talk about issues, we see how to sort it out, and then they keep going. But the young ones are the ones who really have a bit of problem, because the best you can do to them is play therapy and maybe bring other children, then they play together. Yeah.
From your practice, as you look at that, because just as you're saying what you do for children, you realize for those that do not have the, those that may not really be able to get such kind of counseling, in the long term when they grow up to become adults, that's how they become the toxic sister or the toxic brother, because maybe they never got this. So from your practice, is this drawn from upbringing mostly, or environment? Where does this come from? Mostly
environment, because I know of a family where the rest of the family members are quite in order. But there's one person here who is really out of line, and it was because of peer influence. So when I was working with her, she told me that it was because of peer influence. My family is quite strict. Mom and dad are quite strict. But when I went to a boarding school, that's where I got this particular type of behavior. And when she goes back home, she finds that people don't agree with what she says. Her way of talking is just bad to all other people who are in the family. So it is mostly environmental. Yeah, because you can find the family is fantastic, but somebody just comes from nowhere, and people wonder, do you really belong to the same family?
Those are they call the black sheep of the family.
Black sheep of the family. Yeah.
All right, we are due for a break, Dr. When we circle back, I want us to now talk about codependency and also the effects of this toxic relationships. And like you said, you're tying this to everything. Could be in a workplace, family setup, partner-to-partner basis. Just what are the long-term effects of this, and then to what extent can this affect someone, and also how do you cope and deal with, even as you explore further of what codependency is and how to deal with that. We'll do that after this break.
Okay, thank you.
Time for that breather. We circle back with plenty more of this conversation. Do stay with us. Welcome back to the program, and we definitely appreciate your valid company. We continue our pace with our conversation looking at codependency and toxic relationships. Still created first time with Dr. Wilfridah Olaly, who is a psychologist and also a lecturer at Kenyatta University. Dr. Before you took that break, I wanted us to come back to codependency. But before then, let's look at something that you touched on a bit earlier. That is the temperaments. And just how does this inform what you're talking about? We know we have the 4 major temperaments, talking about the sanguines, the cholerics as the extroverts, we have melancholics and phlegmatics as the ones who are termed as introverts. But then how does this influence, or what bearing does it have in what we are discussing?
Yes, I'll pick on the extroverts.
All right.
You find that the extroverts most of the time are able to cope because they are able to speak whatever is wrong. They'll openly tell their, let's say if it is siblings, tell their siblings off and say, I don't like this. If it is their parents, they'll have time to sit with their parents and talk. But the quiet one, the introverts, it will just go into their subconscious. And before you know it, they're the ones who do all sorts of strange things. You find them attempting even to commit suicide. So the personality types also plays a big role. And the question is, if you find that you are an introvert and you are in that relationship, what do you do? Look for help. But some of them don't even look for help because they fear that people will know what they are going through. So such people, you deal with them in a group sort of peer counseling. You put them in such a situation where they can be able to talk, because there are some people who can talk when they're amongst others, but there are some who will just approach you if they have issues. So extroverts do manage well when they have any issues. Yeah.
Is that so? Because sometimes, and perhaps you can clarify this for us, you know, we tend to understand, especially for extroverts, and this are perhaps, you know, go with the sanguines, because they're really more extroverted. They talk more. In fact, they're termed as the life of the party oftentimes. But some would say, yes, they just say it as is. But is it, when they say it as is it now they're done with it, so they're okay because they've said it, or they'll come back later? How does it go for this type of personality?
We believe in counseling that talking is a cure. Okay, if you talk,
it's a healing by itself.
It's a healing by itself. Many times you find people who come to you. Many people have come to me, and by the end of it, they say, "Now I feel better just by talking," because they don't even have people to listen to them. They normally say, "Thank you for listening to me, because nobody has listened to me. Nobody has ever asked me to talk. And now that I've talked to you and you have listened to me, you know, you can just listen and just nod your head. That alone will help that person because they have never had anybody talking to them. When they try to talk, they are thrown off board. No, what are you saying? You are saying nothing." So talking is a real healer. So that person who is extroverted, as much as you think that maybe they have something still hidden, it helps them a lot. Talking is a cure, and a real cure. And it has cured quite a number of my clients whom I've talked to. They come to themselves.
I hear you. So then how do you speak to those who would say, for me, I wait until things have settled? You know, we have a specific category whom, when something happens, they would really want to discuss it. Let's talk about it. Let's find a solution. If not, but I've said my mind. And we have a specific set who would say, in that moment, I can't speak. In that moment, I will not talk. I will wait until things have settled. And at times you realize that waiting until things have settled could even be years. So,
and they're hurting.
Yes. How do you deal with this? How do you reconcile? How do you help these people then? Because you realize this is a personality type. You really can't change your... If you're sanguine, you're sanguine. If you're choleric, you're choleric.
Yes.
So
but you see, with counseling, you cannot force anybody for counseling. That's the other part of it, which could be hard for people. Unless somebody comes to you for help, there's no way you can go and say, I think you are hurting. May I help you? It doesn't work that way.
Even
That's not counseling.
Even if you think they are hurting.
Yeah.
Like you can look at someone and say, I think you're not okay.
Yes.
Even if that's the case.
It depends on how he'll take it, but the best thing would be somebody feeling that is hurting. Even if it is a couple, they go to the counseling psychologist together and explain what their problem is. And I always tell them that if it doesn't work, if it is a couple, then go even you as an individual, continue as an individual, so that we call it intrapersonal help. That is helping yourself from within, because that relationship which is between you and your child is not working. One of them is very repulsive. So the type of person you are talking about is saying, let's wait. For how long will you wait? So if you are hurting enough, you will go for help, because a counselor will not come to you. But there are some cases where the parents approach a counselor and say, my child is hurting in this particular way. How can you handle it? You know, when they are brought like that, there's always an issue. They'll come, yes, but later on, anyway, I was doing it for my mom. You see how hurting it can be to the parents. So that's where the problem is. That's why with young people, it were better if we had peer counseling. Because in peer counseling, group counseling, which is with the peers, it's easier for them to talk. You are there as a counselor, just a facilitator, but they'll be able to talk and they'll give out whatever is hurting them. But the case you are giving was like maybe a relationship, husband and wife, so you just keep it, but it is bad, it kills.
And that's what actually, you know, brings what we keep discussing over time, the gender issues. Because sometimes you dig deep and you realize these were issues that were never resolved. Someone would bring issues from 10 years back and you wonder, okay, 10 years ago, why now? Why now?
So it happens in families. Some people don't want to talk about it. They just want to keep it. You think they are okay. They come to church, they pray, they go back, but they are hurting. They are really hurting. So we really need to be genuine to ourselves. We need to be truthful to ourselves, because whatever help we get, it should come from us. The counselor can help. He's a facilitator anyway. But all that change has to come from you. If you are determined that I want to change my lifestyle, maybe it is so toxic, I want to get out of it. Maybe by not walking out of the marriage, but you have to think of a way of making it yourself, and it must come from within. The counselor will just give you suggestions. Try this. Why don't you try this? Try this, try this. But the person who will do it is you. And people should know that it is them, the counselee, who can really help herself.
So if it still comes back to you, why then do we need the counselor? If they can give you just suggestions?
Because they give you an insight, that aha experience. They can give you some insight. Suppose you tried this. It is from those suggestions which will help you to come up with whatever you can pick from whatever suggestions you are given. So their position is very, very important, because they have different ways of handling different cases. They'll give you different theories, maybe. Why don't you? Of course, they will not talk about theory in a counseling session, but they know what to use at a particular time for particular people. There are some people whom you will say, maybe he's a drug addict. I want you to stop taking this and this and this. Let's work on that. So you make your goals according to that. There are some people who also have a knowledge that unless they forget about their irrational thoughts, they'll never get to anything. So that is completely different from somebody who's a drug addict. So the counselor is very necessary, because she has different ways of looking at different issues.
I hear you. And also, you know, they are neutral. They are, at that point, they're not taking any sides. I felt it was important for me to ask, because even up till now, much as the mental health bill was already passed by the previous parliament, we still keep thinking that these issues, matters that relate to your mind, that would lead to what now we're calling the GBV and the toxicity and the codependence, we still think that these are issues of people from the West. They don't think that these are African problems. So then when someone says, go to a counselor, they say, a counselor for what?
Counselor.
You know? We still think these are issues and problems that ail those coming from the western parts of the globe, and not really the African context. So that's why it was important for me to ask. So if this is the case, that it still does come back to you as a person, why then is a counselor important? But I think you really well explained that. But now let's come to codependency.
Yeah.
All these factors laid on the table, as you've well explained and enumerated to us, Daktari, but still people would continue to be codependent. If it's a working environment, you know that that boss is toxic. Going by what you already described, this is a toxic working environment. This is, even as a family setup, it's toxic for me.
Yes.
Maybe I need to just, exit a bit, then I'll come back later. If it is a partner, marriage, whatever it is, unions, it is toxic, but people would still stay.
Yes.
From your practice, why?
Okay, if I take you back to how this codependence started, it started in 1935, way back, when we used to have men who were really drunkards, and this was not really in our African context. So the women would take care of their husbands, regardless of what they were doing to them. And that was codependency. You are hurting, but you are in it. You are hurting and you are feeling so bad, but you are in it. But that was then. Yeah. So now it has caught up with us here in Africa, where people have those issues also. But there's many suffer. But it is all rounded in that you suffer, but you want to stick. And that is where we go wrong. Maybe we are using the European way of looking at life, but still we come back. Even if it is African, you still have to come back to yourself and say, need I go through this? Need I suffer this much? Why should I suffer for so long? So that it is so, you are so dependent on that issue. Let's say you take even the case of your own child. The child wants this, you give. It's as if you are tied to it. You can't leave it. Your husband is beating you, but you are tied to him. That's called dependence. You are a co-worker making fun of you and so on, but you are still not saying no. All those are codependent, and we need to get out of them. And it is normally not easy, but you find that those who are in it find it very hard to get out of it. But what you need to tell them is that let them take care of themselves first. Whatever they do, whether it is in a family atmosphere, whether it is in a sibling to parent to sibling, whether it is parent to children, take care of yourself first. Otherwise, you'll find that you are nowhere even to take care of those children. So
then, well said. Even what codependency is and it means. And you just did say it does not come. It didn't emanate from where we are, even just as Africans. This dates back from as early as 1930s.
35, in the 30s,
And even up till now in the 21st century, it still does happen.
Yes.
And you'd even, you'd hear some women, I want to use the example of women, in some cultures they would say, Kama hachap with then is not legit.
Very sad.
You understand?
Yeah.
Why would, just help me understand, what goes through the mind of someone that regardless of this numerous abuses and attacks, and I'm cutting this across even in a work environment, for example, why would someone still want to say, just what really goes through the psychology of someone as a psychologist, that they would still say, it'll change, it will become better?
Yes.
What is this?
This is human nature.
It's human nature.
Human nature wants to be in a position where he or she is comfortable. Okay, this husband is abusing you. Okay, he's even beating you. But at least you have a place you call home. This boss of yours is really torturing you. Maybe he makes some suggestions which you don't agree with. But you say, but where will I get a job? Okay. So these things come from within us, but to me, maybe as a counselor, we need to break out of them. We need to break away from them. But it is sometimes not easy because we are just thinking of tomorrow. What will happen tomorrow if I lose this job? What will happen tomorrow if I leave this man? He's abusing me, yes. But he has bought me a house. He brings us food. The children are happy. Maybe when I go to another one, it will be worse. So these are the things which make people just tend to stick.
Okay.
But I'll repeat and repeat again. It will never be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it more like fear of the unknown, so that if I'm exiting this environment, what next? And that mentality, just as you're saying that it's human nature, that mentality that perhaps this is bad, but if I choose to exit, it might even be worse.
Yeah.
So you stay with what you know, as opposed to what you imagine might be your new norm.
Yes.
Okay.
But you see, as I was saying, the present generation might not take it because they are working. You know, that type of people I'm talking about, they were not working. They were dependent on their husbands 100%. But you, if somebody mistreats you...
But you're also seeing that, I mean, like, sorry, look at even what the media has been covering. University students, these are learned people. If you want to talk about people that are working, and you want to compare with the previous generation, look at the level of education in this time.
Yes.
These are university students. This is someone who's perhaps just gotten their job or they are working, but they will still stay. They're still...
It is that comfort zone.
They're still there.
That comfort zone, I have a husband.
Or you have a partner.
You have a partner. Because look at even those university students. Why do they go for sugar daddies? Why? Just to have somebody around them. Somebody to buy them this and that. Comfort. I'm telling you, the comfort bit of it is what makes them stick. Yeah. I talk to them a lot and tell them, please.
What do they tell you?
When, of course, I know in the university, we have Pajero men who come for them. Yeah. They go. At the same time, in the university, we have the young boys who are also their friends. So they utilize these young boys to give them pocket money within campus. Over the weekends, they are off with the elderly men to give them some money and some treatment like buying dresses, shoes and so on. But I always tell them, please stick to the young ones. Grow together. I always tell them, you need to grow together. Don't go for those who have already grown. In fact, if anything, they are your fathers. But still they go for them. Okay, they listen to one with one ear and it goes off the other ear. But at the same time, there are some who are quite faithful. Okay, I hear you. So this still does come down to what you're saying, codependency, that by the virtue of the fact that you feel you'll be dependent on someone for something that you may be lacking, that is what will make you be in such kind of an environment, regardless. It's true. So now, let's make progress on this conversation. How do you exit, especially for someone who's codependent in that capacity? How do you start reorienting your mind so that this does not become your norm? Okay. The first thing you need to do is to stop focusing on others but focus on yourself. What is it that you can do for yourself? Focus on yourself. Then have self-care. What does self-care entail? Self-care. Make sure that you are able to take care of yourself. If it is, let's say, something you needed to buy, you are able to buy it with the little you have. Don't depend on people. Focus on what you can afford. Most people don't do that at all. Another thing, if you are, let's say, like university students or teenagers, form support groups. Support groups will work about issues which can help them to get out of that habit. I remember there was a time I had a class whom we formed a support group just to talk about issues like these. And by the end of it, 3 years ago, wrote back and said, thank you for helping us form that support group. So those are ways of getting out of them. Take care of yourself, have support groups, and make sure that you consistently meet. Then you must also do a lot of individual search. Do you search yourself and say, okay, we were having a group, yes. What am I saying to myself? Because that is very hard for young people. the young people tend to be taken away by others. Oh, we are going out this evening. Aren't you going with us? You had decided individually that you are not going out, so you'll not go out. So you'll find that that group will now leave you. And when they leave you, you are on your way to improving yourself. And if that is done to one person, then to another, then to another, then we are helping the youth.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
So there's one specific set I'd want us to talk about before we exit this space. That is the narcissists. When you say narcissists, who really are this? What category of persons are this?
They love themselves, really love themselves. They don't want to be...
Are they toxic?
Very toxic.
Are they toxic people? People that love themselves too much?
Yeah.
Why are they toxic if they just love themselves?
You know, everything has to be done in moderation.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are some people who love themselves so much that whatever you tell them, no, I'm the one.
It is their way or the highway?
It is their way or not your way.
Yeah.
So narcissists also have a lot of issues and they need to moderate it. We can't just live a life where anybody else doesn't matter and it is only you who matters. Because we are living in a society where we have relationships. We need to have relationships. So long as these relationships are healthy, you can't be a loner. So narcissists need to get out of that. Yeah, because it's dangerous for them also.
So also when you talk about toxic relationships, these are another set or category of persons that people need to be aware.
Yes.
Those are things just must happen their way. They don't listen to any other voice of reason. Yeah. This again is a specific set that you need to be watching out for.
Yes.
All right. I hear you.
It's true.
Now, this again something that I came across, and this is drawn from that is 2021, when we had Mercy Mwangangi as the Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Health. At that time, the government was mulling over commitment to end gender-based violence by 2026. Borrowing from all that we've discussed on this table today, Daktari, this just points to the GBV issues. And when you look at perhaps the efforts that have been made so far, even just from your practice in terms of psychology and counseling, making people to come together to see how they can be able to converse around these issues, is this a practical move? We are in 2023, so if you're to think about this idea, we're saying the next 3 years, this needs to be a done deal. No practice, no case of GBV.
It will have to be there.
How practical is this?
It's not very practical because there is gender feeling that men always feel that they are superior. No woman can tell them anything. And if she does, what is she putting on the table? Okay. Has she reached that level of a man? So gender-based violence will still be there, but the only thing is that the women have to be very careful whom they bring to be their friends. If you see any sign of aggressiveness in the man, pull out as fast as possible. Better pull out than get into it and later say, I wish I knew. Because those gender-based violence will always be there. Yeah. They are there.
So ending it is not...
It's not easy.
It's on paper. Practicability.
It needs to come from the heart, yeah. Because men behave in such a way that you even get surprised. Is that the man I thought I knew? Yeah. Yeah, so the ladies have to be careful. If you have any sense, any little sense that this man could be violent, discuss it with him, of course, but if he's reluctant, pull out of it before you get on that altar to say, yes, I do.
For those who are already in the ship,
yeah, those
speak to you.
Yeah, we talk about it, we discuss. Yeah.
Okay, I hear you. So you're saying that this 2026 is a good idea, but not so much of a practical idea, especially with this kind of environment.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not very practical.
All right.
Most women suffer, but they don't talk about it. Very many.
And men even the most.
And you know, with men, they don't talk.
At
so
all.
They suffer. There are some men who suffer quietly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can only hear it during counseling sessions.
Yeah. We can't disclose those stories.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, thank you so much for your time and for your valuable inputs into this conversation. Highly appreciate, Daktari.
Thank you, Doreen.
Asante.
Yeah.
I have been speaking to Dr. Wilfridah Olaly, who is a psychologist and also a lecturer at Kenyatta University. What has definitely formed center of our conversation is looking at codependency and toxic relationships, just borrowing also data from what has been gathered so far by KNBS, the Kenya Demographic Health Survey, and how we can move forward in terms of at least reducing these numbers momentarily. Good place to end this conversation, and ultimately good morning, Kenya, from me and on behalf of the entire team. Thank you very much. Till tomorrow, good morning.